Nobody respects you. You might not want to admit it, but deep down, you know it's true.
It's not that they openly hate or ignore you, it's worse. They tolerate you. They smile out of politeness and listen because they feel obligated. And like so many others, you confuse this with respect. But if you disappear tomorrow, the world wouldn't skip a beat. Do you know why? Because you've never set clear limits. You were never predictable or an authority figure. You were flexible. And in this world, the flexible bend until they break. Here's the brutal truth. Respect isn't begged for, it's earned. Not through yelling or violence, but through presence, firmness, and a calculated strategy, something even Machiavelli would admire. Respect doesn't come from kindness or affection. It comes from managing fear well, staying consistent in your decisions, and being crystal clear about your boundaries. But here's the problem. Most people have limits as blurry as their sense of identity. They contradict themselves, make excuses, and then wonder why no one takes them seriously. Let me be blunt, if people don't respect you, it's because they aren't afraid of failing you. And if they aren't afraid, it's because you've never made the consequences clear. You're the type who forgives endlessly, giving second, third, and fourth chances until your generosity feels like a joke. Machiavelli said it best. Those who try to be both loved and feared at the same time usually end up despised. Why? Because trying to please while imposing authority doesn't work. True respect comes from one thing: predictability. Real authority starts with one rule: predictable punishment. Not emotional, impulsive, or angry, just predictable, like gravity. If someone fails you, they should know something will happen. You don't need to shout or threaten. Just act. Once, twice, that's it. People learn quickly when consequences are non-negotiable. But you forgive with speeches, punish with looks, and contradict yourself every step of the way. Each time you do that, your authority crumbles a little more. Why do some people command silence just by raising their voice? Because everyone knows there's no turning back if they cross that line. But punishment alone isn't enough. You also need to master a subtler art: the fear of regret. It's not about making them fear you, it's about making them fear disappointing you. When they fail you, you won't need to shout, humiliate, or punish dramatically. You'll simply leave. No drama, no explanations, and that absence will weigh heavier than any words could. Now, here's what separates a leader from a tyrant: offering one chance, just one, to make things right. Make it clear, limited, and non-negotiable. People respect those who punish fairly, but they admire those who give a path to redemption. Give someone a second chance, but let them know it's their last. If they waste it, it's over. Don't say it, show it. Respect isn't declared. It's built through actions that leave no room for doubt. Most people fail in the same way. They punish out of anger, reward out of pity, and break their own rules for love, friendship, compassion, or fear of loneliness. What do they get in return? Seen as weak, manipulable, and inconsistent. Authority isn't blind rigidity, it's relentless consistency. In a world where most can't even keep a promise, consistency is pure power. Look around. Who gets real respect? It's not the nicest person or the most charismatic. It's the firmest, the one who always acts the same, who never betrays themselves. People don't respect sympathy. They respect structure. They trust someone who doesn't change their mind every week, who doesn't forgive today what they condemned yesterday, who doesn't hug you after pushing you away the day before. Those people leave a mark not for what they say, but for what they uphold. True respect is born when people know exactly what to expect from you and still choose not to test your limits. Respect isn't an emotion, it's a strategy. You can't be liked by everyone and respected by those who matter at the same time. One cancels the other. Those who seek approval always end up yielding, and those who yield lose their authority. The worst thing you can do is negotiate your principles for acceptance. It's the perfect recipe for being despised without being told. They'll tell you they admire you, but they'll use you. They'll say they value you, but they'll trample on you. Because those who don't impose respect become a doormat. It's that simple. There's a difference between being feared and being respected. Fear is useful, but it's fragile. Respect, when built on consistency, is indestructible. But it requires a cold cruelty, upholding your limits even when it hurts, even when you want to forgive, even when no one is watching. That's how your power is measured when no one sees you, yet you still do the right thing. You don't do it for others, you do it for yourself, because breaking your own rules is the beginning of the end. Respect starts when you stop betraying yourself. Do you know the difference between leaders and followers? Leaders earn respect for themselves, and it shows. People follow them not because they're nice, but because they're coherent. They never doubt, even when everyone else does. They punish justly, reward logically, and don't let emotion sway them. They impose authority without raising their voice or seeking attention. Real respect doesn't need explanations. Here's the truth no one wants to hear. If you're not respected, it's not the world's fault, it's yours. Because you taught people how to treat you. You were flexible when you should have been firm, silent when you should have spoken, forgiving when you should have walked away. Now you live with the consequences. But here's the good news. You can change it. Not tomorrow, today. With every decision you make, every rule you enforce, and every limit you uphold. You don't have to be cruel, just clear, consistent, firm, and relentless. Respect is built brick by brick, decision by decision. It's not fast or easy, but it's eternal. When you have it, you'll feel it in how people look at you, talk to you, and tread carefully around you. They know you don't hesitate, forget, or give more than someone deserves. In a soft and chaotic world, that's pure gold. Machiavelli wasn't talking about evil, he was talking about power. Power isn't dominating others, it's mastering yourself, not being a slave to your emotions, guilt, or fear. Being a block of marble in the midst of chaos, imposing order in a disordered world. And that's not achieved with speeches, it's achieved with rules, consequences, and earned respect. Ask yourself this. How predictable are you? Do people know what you'll do if they fail you? Or do they think you'll forgive everything? True respect comes from being so consistent that no one dares test your limits. Yet, they follow you because they know your presence in their life means something. You give only one chance. But when you do, it's real. You punish without hate and forgive without weakness. Your authority isn't a mask, it's who you are. Here's the final lesson. Not everyone deserves to be close to you. Respect is selection. Know who has proven worthy of your time, energy, and trust, and ruthlessly remove those who haven't, not out of spite, but for self-preservation. Respect starts with you. If you don't respect yourself, no one else will. Stop justifying yourself. Stop negotiating your worth. Stop being accessible to those who haven't earned it. Apply 3 rules: predictable punishment, fear of regret, and one window of redemption. Hold these rules no matter who walks away. Respect isn't about having many, it's about having the right ones. And the right ones always respect those who never betray themselves. Welcome to the real game. Here, the one who talks the most doesn't win, the one who holds the most does. So decide. Are you going to continue being ignored, or are you going to become the authority no one dares challenge? Respect isn't asked for, it's imposed. And it's imposed in silence. Because here's where the hard part begins, the part almost no one has the courage to face. Most people don't lose respect because of weakness. They lose it because of hunger. Hunger for attention, validation, and acceptance. In that silent need, they start selling their power bit by bit with every smile they give to someone. It's okay, they say, when it's not. With every smile they give to someone who doesn't deserve it. With every time they stay silent to avoid conflict, even if it means swallowing their pride. And here's the gut-wrenching truth. The respect you don't give yourself, others will take away. If you act as if your presence is cheap, they'll treat it as such. And the worst part? The hunger for validation is never satisfied. Every time you sell yourself for a bit of acceptance, you feel worse about yourself. Then you seek more validation. It's a cycle, the cycle of the weak, the cycle of those who lose. No matter how smart, prepared, or well-intentioned you are, if you don't master this hunger, you'll continue to be surrounded by people who don't respect you. Because they smell your need, and respect slips away when they realize you need them more than they need you. Here's another Machiavellian truth. Power isn't based on how much you depend on others, but on how much they depend on you. And that's built not with false superiority or posturing, but with real value. Knowing how to say no, disappearing when you're not valued, not responding to messages that only come when it suits the other person, choosing silence over drama. Respect feeds on detachment from that rare ability to leave without noise when the situation goes wrong. Because the person who can leave has power, but the one who stays and begs becomes a shadow. And we're not here to be anyone's shadow. Let's go further. Why is it so hard to maintain personal authority over time? Because sustaining high standards is exhausting when the environment is designed to lower them. Living with clear rules makes you a threat to those who live with excuses. Being consistent costs you energy and relationships, and that's where many stumble. They want respect but aren't willing to lose comfort. They don't understand that gaining authority involves losing convenience. The price of being respected is high, but the price of being ignored is devastating. And then they fall not suddenly, not with scandals, but little by little, with small concessions, misplaced silences, and thoughts like, well, this time I'll let it go. And so, respect dies not with an explosion, but with omissions, with decisions disguised as diplomacy that are really fear wrapped in courtesy. Do you want another lethal mistake? Excessive empathy. Poorly managed empathy is a drug that destroys your center. It makes you understand everyone except yourself. It makes you justify the unjustifiable. He's had a bad day. He's going through a lot. It's not his fault. And how many times have you used your own struggles as an excuse to cross someone's boundaries? None, right? Because you know that what's right doesn't change based on your mood, but you allow it for others. Why? Because you still lack self-worth. Respect isn't about how much you understand others, it's about how much you stay true to yourself, even while understanding them. That's the difference between a leader and a martyr. The leader understands but doesn't betray themselves. The martyr gives in, justifies, and burns alive so others can warm their hands. Here's another piece no one talks about: body language. It's not a cliche, it's pure psychology. The way you enter a room, the pace of your speech, the silence you hold without anxiety, the gaze you don't avoid, even the way you breathe, all of it screams who you are before you say a single word. Do you know who commands respect without speaking? The person who doesn't need to prove anything. The one who sits calmly as if they're not in a hurry. The one who looks without seeking approval. The one who doesn't laugh out of obligation. Because that sends a silent message. I'm not here to please you. I'm here because I choose to be. True leaders aren't noisy, they're dense. Their presence weighs not because they intimidate, but because they don't vibrate with the same social anxiety as everyone else. They don't chase acceptance because they've made peace with the idea of being alone if necessary. And that gives them an advantage in any situation, any game, any war. Here's where you must ask yourself: how many times have you betrayed yourself just to avoid making others uncomfortable? How many times have you pretended to agree, silenced your opinion, or softened your limits just to avoid friction? And what did you get in return? Nothing. Because people don't respect those who yield, they respect those who maintain. Don't confuse this with arrogance. It's not about imposing yourself with shouts. It's about being so clear about who you are that others understand it without needing an explanation. Having principles as anchors, not accessories. Sustaining your standards even if the whole world chooses to fall. When you do this, something changes not in others, but in you. Your energy shifts, your relationships get purified, your time becomes sacred, you start moving with a new intention. You're no longer available for every plan, every conversation, or every person. You become scarce, and what's scarce is respected. Remember this: respect isn't about controlling others, it's about mastering yourself. About becoming someone so firm, so predictable, so coherent that the world has no choice but to treat you with the reverence you deserve, not for what you shout, but for who you are. Now, the final question. Are you willing to lose whatever is necessary to become someone impossible to ignore? Because if you're not willing to do that, you're not ready for real respect. You're just ready to remain part of the noise. And noise, at the end of the day, fades. Let's keep breaking this down because there's still a lot to unpack. Do you know one of the most silent and dangerous ways to lose respect? Over-explanation. That compulsive need to justify everything you do. The habit of explaining your decisions, your limits, your reasons as if the other person is entitled to constant accountability. Why do you do it? Because you fear seeming cold or being judged. But ironically, all you're doing is weakening your authority. The person who explains too much conveys doubt. The person who justifies begs for acceptance. Real respect, true respect, is built on what you don't need to say. There's power in silence. There's strength in a plain no without excuses or empathy. It's simple. If something doesn't serve you, it ends. Period. You don't have to convince anyone. You're not the ambassador of your own decisions. Think of someone you truly respect. Can you imagine them justifying themselves at every step, trying not to hurt sensitivities, asking for permission to have standards? No, you respect them precisely because their voice doesn't tremble. When they say, "This is how it is," you know it is, without margin, without drama, without detours. And here's another modern poison of respect: digital omnipresence. You're always available, always responding, always active, always online. And the worst part? You do it out of fear that someone will get upset if you don't show up. You're chained to the idea that responding quickly makes you considerate, but it makes you predictable. And the predictable, when not firm, becomes dispensable. People respect what's hard to reach, what's not always available, what doesn't respond instantly, what doesn't surrender to the attention algorithm. Being accessible all the time turns you into background noise. You become part of the scenery, not the main character. And when you stop standing out, they start treating you like an extra in your own life. Here's a concept few handle well: perceived value. It has nothing to do with your talent, intelligence, or kindness. It's about how you manage your scarcity. If you're everywhere, opining on everything, saying yes to every plan, your value dilutes, not because you're not valuable, but because they can't differentiate you from the rest. Do you know who makes an impact? The person who appears with precision, the one who's not there for everything, but when they appear, everything reorders. The one who's silent for weeks, but when they speak, the air changes. Because their word isn't frequent, but it's definitive. Because their energy isn't given away, it's earned. Here's another crucial point. Energy is a non-renewable resource. Most people give it away as if they have an excess. They attend conversations that lead nowhere. They wear themselves out explaining their vision to those who will never understand it. They give themselves to people who don't know how to receive. And what happens next? They empty themselves. They turn off. They become gray. And people respect less those who no longer shine. Your energy can't be at the service of just anyone. It must be selective, strategic, and surgical. And that hurts because it means disappointing. It means not responding. It means leaving people on read. It means being called arrogant, distant, or cold. But it also means staying whole. And that's worth more than any label they put on you. There's something deeper here. Respect is also born from how you treat your time. The person who respects their time forces the world to respect it too. The person who's always late, who leaves everything for later, who hesitates, sends a clear signal they don't even take themselves seriously. And if you're not punctual with your own goals, why would anyone else be with you? Punctuality isn't just about arriving on time, it's about being where you said you'd be when you said you'd be. With your routines, your values, your plans. If you say you're going to the gym at 7 and end up watching TikTok until 8, what are you projecting? That you're negotiable even to yourself. Now we come to something even more delicate. Respect is also destroyed when you beg for love. Yes, you read that right. Begging for love is one of the saddest ways to lose authority. You do it when you tolerate minimal effort, accept half-hearted affection, and celebrate crumbs as if they were delicacies. The problem isn't that they don't love you as you deserve, it's that you accept their way of loving, even though it breaks you. Respect starts in how you allow yourself to be loved, in how you define what's acceptable, and in how you respond when someone doesn't meet your standards. It's not about being demanding out of pride, it's about knowing your worth and not settling for less. Because every time you settle, the world takes note, and next time, they'll offer you even less. There's something those who impose respect know by heart. Love without standards isn't love, it's attachment. And attachment isn't respected, it's exploited. Do you want another harsh truth? Admiration precedes respect, and no one admires someone who gives in without limits. The world respects the person who holds back, who has the power to act but chooses not to use it immediately, the person who could explode but observes, the person who could beg but leaves. That kind of self-control is magnetic, And it's not just philosophy, it's biology. The human brain associates firmness with leadership. The limbic system responds better to those who project security than to those who project need. It's that simple. We're animals, and animals respect those who lead with presence, not those who tremble to please. So here's the closing thought for now. Your respect isn't in your words, appearance, or achievements. It's in how you handle conflict, how you remain firm when everything shakes, and how you're capable of saying, "This isn't enough for me," even though you're dying to stay. If you do it right, you won't need to shout, beg, or fight, because people will know from the very first second that's true power, and no one can take it from you. Only you can give it away. Are you going to keep giving it away, or are you finally going to hold your crown in silence? We're almost at the end, but now is when you need to pay attention, because what you're about to hear isn't a conclusion, it's a door. Here's what no one tells you. Respect isn't something you achieve once and for all. It's not a medal or a trophy. It's a daily, silent war where your biggest enemy is yourself, your tendency to yield, your desire to please, your fear of loss, your thirst for acceptance. True respect isn't maintained by inertia, it's defended every day. With every word you choose not to say, every limit you decide to maintain, every person you choose to let go. There's an idea you need to etch into your soul. People will always treat you as you teach them to. If you show weakness, they'll use it. If you show need, they'll exploit it. But if you show integrity, if you make your presence a privilege and not an obligation, they'll rise to the occasion or they'll walk away. And if they walk away, good. Because one of the most radical acts of respect is learning to be alone without feeling empty. Being respected isn't about having many people applauding you, it's about having a few who would never dare cross your lines. And here's the final twist. The most powerful thing you can do to be respected is to not need to be respected. It's about doing the right thing even if no one sees it. It's about maintaining your principles even if no one recognizes them. It's about walking straight when everyone else crawls. Because at that moment, when you're capable of sustaining yourself alone without witnesses, without likes, without applause, that's when the entire universe starts paying attention to you. Not because you made noise, but because you became unstoppable. So here ends this journey, but your personal war begins. You know what you have to do. You know where you're failing. And most importantly, you know that respect isn't demanded. It's built, lived, and imposed with presence, contain power, and brutal coherence. Now, I want you to do something. If you've made it this far, you didn't just listen, you understood. And that puts you above 90% of those who only seek easy entertainment. So I want you to leave this phrase in the comments. I will be respected for what I do not negotiate. That way, I'll know you're part of those who are really ready to change the game. Subscribe, because what's coming next isn't for everyone. It's for those who are ready to stop being spectators and start becoming architects of their own respect. And remember this, you didn't come into this world to beg for attention. You came to build a presence so firm that even in silence, it discomforts. See you in the next video or not. Because those who truly respect their time choose carefully who they give their attention to. You'll know. Close this screen or let what you just heard stay with you forever.